Warning, there may be extreme levels of vitriol within this review. It is for a variety of factors. Fear not. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do hope to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something from the bottom of my left big toe. From the bottom of my left big toe. If you're tired, if it's late at night, if you just wrapped up streaming, having a wonderful time and having to go take care of something, and then you think, you put it in your good old head that that's the perfect time to edit some videos. When your computer's nearly full on space, so you need to clear some space, and you forget to import the videos into the editing software before you go to clean it up. Just wait till the next day. Just wait until the next day. Because let me tell you what happens if you don't wait until the next day. You start to edit, you get a little bit bored, and a little bit sleepy, because you can barely tell what you're doing, because it's late at night. Then you wake up the next morning, going to get back to editing, only to find that all the files are gone. And not just any files. Not just some small little 15-minute My Thoughts videos. No. That is 5 hours of your life you're not getting back. So yeah, the original live reaction, the hour 45-minute double review, gone into the ether. I have to re-record Itchy the Witch and Chainsaw Man too. So, if there's an itty bit of vitriol anywhere, it may not be just because of the events of the chapter. May have rustled my jimmies, may have wiggled my toes, may have plucked my feathers. I am also just... Let's just say I'm never even touching the... Like, if I'm tired, I'm not touching the computer ever again. I'm never touching it again. But would it be the case? You know what time it is? It's 4 nights time. So let's not waste any more time. See, this... Let's hop into chapter 222 and 223 of 4 Nights in the Apocalypse, which is known as the 7 deadly... Well, the first chapter is known as the 7 deadly sins versus the Eternal King. NAKABA Suzuki-sensei, why do you keep teasing me? Why do you keep tickling my toes, NAKABA Suzuki? Where is he? Where is he? I am telling you, send me, take me back, I wanna go back. 6 years in the past, I would have never cared for an actual hog sighting, bro, but why do you keep teasing me? Though this is, and like, unfortunately, only 2 of the characters on this page are actually relevant to the current events. Think about that. Hawk just doesn't exist, but you know, Hawk, side, mascot character, fine, whatever. But, Arthur, he's not even here. He's not even relevant at all to this major final battle. The Eternal King? The Eternal King ain't here. The Eternal King is this thing. Isn't that so great? Isn't that such fantastic character writing? Aren't you so excited that Kath is our main villain? Aren't you so happy? Aren't you so happy that, essentially, like, do I go into it now? No. See, that's what happens. Because I waited in the... Okay, let me not reference the original recording. Because the more I do, the quarter soul in my head. But I'll talk about how technically this battle and Kath's existence as the name of it, like, and technically Arthur's current status quo, technically how it is a really, 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 really good thing for, like, the longevity of 4 nights, which is, but with that being the case, let's hop into the chapter itself. We open up and we see essentially in a direct continuation of what happened at the end of 221 and what was foreshadowed in the prophecy 8 chapters ago, where Carther says, "Oh, how long I've waited for this. The day I finally settle the score with you, sins." Now, admittedly, I like how this is, as much as I still really am not the biggest fan of Chaos Kath being, you know, our main villain. I do like how this can be read in 2 ways. If you're going with the fake Carther motivation, the idea of Arthur getting revenge on the 7 sins for the Holy War and them destroying Camelot, it works on that front, right? Because technically that is a score to settle, quote unquote. But at the same time, I also do like how this works from Kath's perspective specifically, because he does have a score to settle with the sins. Obviously, they didn't actually do much to him, but they were there. They were part of the scapegoat / stalling that did lead to Kath being devoured in the first place. So technically he has two scores to settle. One as the Eternal King, King Arthur, and one as Kath himself. So I do like that. And it is also very cool to see the Chaos Knights regenerating into their more regular forms through the Chaos Resurrection or the Transcendence there. That is neat to see. As much as I'm just not the... Because the thing is, I like all four of the Chaos Knights. The four evils, I like them. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. But I will readily admit this. Making them all meat puppets is kind of boring. Because they're all such good characters on their own, right? Pelgard is a fantastic character. You know I love Pelgard. Ironside, as terrible as a person as he is, he's a really good character, right? Like, he is one of those characters where, like, oh no, he's a bad person, a bad father, a bad individual, but, like, he's a really, really interesting and good character. Worldane is an entertaining character with interesting levels of nuance that we just never got to see because we get very limited, like, actual real person Worldane when the Chaos Insider was suppressed and we saw her be old because of Percy's attack. And Beltrep is interesting for his connections to the original series, and just an interesting character so far. I actually want to see more Beltrep. But unfortunately, all the characters of the four evils are basically non-existent. I can tell you now, they don't speak at all during these chapters. Not real. Like, they are truly just husks of their abilities. They're just meat puppets puppeteered around by Cat. I think that's kind of boring. But, I mean... I guess, because like realistically, without the knights being here, it's not like the four evils really have any particular dynamic with the sins, except I would have actually liked to see Ironside have some sort of conversation with Bond and Pelgard, considering he actually encountered those two previously. But, of course, that can't be the case. And we do see, as Arthur unsheathes the sword and everyone regenerates, they're immediately getting right back to battle. And naturally, we also see the sins looking at me like, oh, they're immortal. Ah, yeah, it's not good. As Gothard says, they were near death. Such astonishing healing skill. Which is hilarious, thinking about it now, because where before, there were at least like 2 pseudo-morals on the sins. Now, it really is just Mel. Mel's it. Like, Bond doesn't regen anymore. But as we'll see, he may not ever need to regen again. But, with it being the case, we see that King reminds us of a statement from the end of the original series. He says, Merlin told us that chaos might be... Why am I not reading? Merlin told us that chaos might lie beyond life and death itself. And Diane goes, no fair! Their bodies are one thing, but it fixes their armor too? And like... Diane... You know, as an actual fact at this point, that chaos creates entire worlds, bro. You're shocked that it can fix some armor. What is the armor even, at the level that y'all are fighting at, what does the armor even really do? You don't even wear armor. No one here is wearing, none of you sins are wearing armor. Why do you think that the armor even matters? They could come out BBN and it wouldn't even matter. But with it being the case, we see that Meliodas says something that I think, I'll admit, it's going to be 223 that grinds my gears way more than 222. Or no, yeah, it is 222 and 223, right? Yeah, 223 is going to grind my gears way more than 222 when it comes to this statement here. But I'm gonna put a pin in this. Put a pin in this for later. These guys are no joke. These guys are no joke. Don't let up, everyone. That's what Meliodas says. And like with Carther being there, I get what he means. But very specifically, let's just say I'm very disappointed in I'm very disappointed in one of the 5 sins. Very, very disappointed in one. Very disappointed. But, with it being the case, we see Bond say, hey, I met that guy before. Which is why, once again, I wish they were still actually their characters. Sure. Honestly, I would prefer if they were at their on-foot characterization pre-monsterization. Right? Where they still had their memories, and they still had their, like, motivations. Except, obviously, they were clouded and misguided by Cat. Like, I don't like that they don't even speak. Like, their powers are cool. Their designs are still cool. And I still do love the detail that ultimately Ironside never got that crest that was broken think about how long ago that crest was broken. This crest on his chest was broken all the way back in the initial battle he has with Percy's crew. All the way back in, like, the 20s. And it's still broken all this time later to show how, like, Ironside truly is, like, a broken-hearted being. And how, no matter how much is fixed and how much chaos he infused with himself, there's something in him that is always broken. Like, I like the visual symbolism of that, right? Because, of course, if all the armor should restore, why not that? It's because it's meant to represent a part of Ironside's character. But Ironside's barely a character right now. He's a meat puppet. Not gonna lie. But we naturally see Bond ask, hey, What's the deal with you, huh? As he probably notes that there is no, like, speech or anything going on within Ironside's mind or body, or they're not saying anything. They're just there and clearly being used as meat shields. However, we see Carther not even give them a chance to really reconcile any of that, as he lunges it with what I'll admit this. In terms of art, as there are still some, like, non-inked in panels, but in terms of, like, the posing and how NAKABA's drawing, some of NAKABA's best work is in these two chapters. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And this is the first expression of it. I love how Carther looks diving down like this. Even the way that Carwadon is, like, being, like, blended in, the way he dives in, the way his head is so big, and the big old smile on his face, even the cast, it just looks so good. I love the way his cowlick flows back, and the way he's diving down with so much force. The way he breaks through the four evils too is just good work. Good, like NAKABA. And, like, this is where I'm always in, like, a fist fight with NAKABA Suzuki, right? Funnily enough, both Suzuki senseis, NAKABA Suzuki of Four Knights and Seven Deadly Sins fame, and Suzuki Sensei of Sakamoto's fame, I'm always fighting with these two, because no matter how much I'm like, I'm not really rocking with that narrative decision. Oh, I'm not really appreciating how you write that character, Potato Chip. Like, as much as they go back and forth on that, man, when they get into their bag, especially when it comes to the art, like, man, this just looks so good. And obviously Carther says, "Let's go!" and dives right in. And he declares, "Right here, right now, the 7 deadly sins shall be massacred with their traitor friends." Which is interesting. I do wonder what he means by that. Like, I'm assuming traitor friends is like the citizens of Camelot. But now with this happening, at the moment that it's happening, I wonder, are Mael, and Zeldris, and Matrona, and Gelda, like, are they even under siege at all? Because considering that this whole operation is, like, happening the same moment, right? Like, Arthur made it daytime. Like, if I'm not mistaken, right, what's happening right now is literally the exact same instant that has teleported everybody out. So the other guys are in the other realms, but I don't think they're under siege. Like, I don't think Arthur organized any other attacks. So Traitor Friends is just likely all the citizens of Leonis, I guess. Because realistically, the rest of the Traitor Friends should be fine. If all the 4 evils, the only ones who are Chaos Amped, are here, Nanashi didn't actually end up going back to Arthur, I don't really think the other realms have anything to worry about. As far as I know. The 4 evils just seem to be the highest tier, and that was even before they were Chaos Amped of the Chaos Knights. So yeah, everyone else should be fine. But with it being the case, we see that everyone scatters. Very specifically, the 4 evils do follow down after their king, but the king gets met with the king of Leonis as Meliodas leaps in to give Carther this work. And oh, he's gonna give him that work. But notably, the most important thing, and we're going to be building on this, but the most important thing, round start, that I need you to pay big attention to, all right? Open up the ears, open up the ears, open up the ears. Look at how Meliodas is diving in. At which Arthur? At which Carther? At Chaos Eyes, Chaos King Carther. Dog. He lunged at him. In base. In base, bro. And look at this. Look. I know some people get sick and tired of me power scaling, right? Some people are like, Pencil Man, you worry too much about power scaling. This, that, and the third. It's not, the story's all about power scaling. What about the character work? I glaze the character work enough. I glaze the artwork enough. I glaze everything else that NAKABA Suzuki does enough. I am sorry to have chaos-eyed Chaos King Carther, who absorbed a majority of chaos, getting actively beaten back by base Mel. Brody. Like, when I tell you, let's go back in time. Let's go back before, I feel like I made that video even before I start, like, I think Arthur may have appeared. I forget. But I had made a video a while ago, a long, long while ago, talking about how it wouldn't even really be too outrageous for this to be the case. If you'll remember, I mentioned in that video way long ago, I forget what the video was even titled, but it was essentially just talking about the potential of Demon King, or, well, not Demon King, but very specifically, King Meliodas actually being stronger than his true magic self. right? And it was simply based on the principle that for some reason, and I don't know why NAKABA does this, but it's a true thing. You can go back to the original series. Every time we see Mel after a power-up or a time skip or something of the sort, his strongest state pre that time skip gets one shot by his base form the next arc. It is just a thing that happens. Beginning of series Mel gets absolutely, even beginning of series Mel with Lost Vein going berserk gets absolutely cliffed by, well, not, it's, to be fair, it's like that, but to going still sticking with that. Beginning of series Berserk Mel with Lost Vein gets absolutely cliffed by Post Druid Mel. Base Post Druid Mel would absolutely bully that same Meliodas that was Berserk with Lost Vein, right? It's an easy one tap for that Mel. A Post Resurrection Mel in base would bully, at least at the time, Demon Mark Mel. Absolutely, he would absolutely annihilate that Demon Mark Mel in base. Post Resurrection to Post Druid. Now, of course, Post Druid now technically has like a reverse implied assault mode, so like that may make it more difficult considering how powerful assault mode should be, but still, going with the original just progression of the story before NAKABA retroactively added in that Post Druid had assault mode the entire time, like going back with that, base Post Resurrection Mel violates Demon Mark Post Druid. Then again, we see it one more again after the Purgatory arc. After Mel's soul is trapped in Purgatory, post the whole fight in sparring session with Bond and the Demon King and Wild, he comes back, and in base, he would go on to bully a assault mode post-resurrection version of himself, because in base he can bully half-power Demon King, which would bully the half-power, the post-resurrection assault mode Mel that had no emotion, stuff like that. We just know that by a fact of DK, base Mel being able to survive anything that the Demon King does, where assault mode Mel, at that point, is like, I'm not even comp to dad, still, I need to absorb the 10 Commandments to even remotely compete, and possibly do anything about the curses. So, like, there is a consistent through line. So, of course, EOS Mel's strong, or not necessarily EOS Mel's, very specifically, Demon King fight Meliodas, that arc, that Meliodas, technically, his strongest form would be True Magic. So, at least when I was making the video at the time, it wasn't unreasonable to me, the idea that base King Mel would surpass his True Magic self. It wasn't entirely unreasonable to me, but actually seeing it, it was that of all the calls I placed, I placed a bunch of calls in early Four Nights. Even before Four Nights was a thing, I was placing a bunch of calls out there. And to be fair, I hit beep, 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 boop, 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 bop on a bunch of calls, and they picked up, and I'm geeking and freaking and tweaking all about it happily. The whole idea of the lore meta being a solid thing that only got upscaled, juicy. I called that way too early, and now multi-solar gallon is just a thing. Now we gotta deal with that. We gotta click our heels together and just deal with that. Multi-solar gallon is a thing because lore meta is super duper solid, this, that, and the third. Bring. I called a whole bunch of stuff, power scaling wise, character dynamic wise, interaction wise. Of all the calls I placed power scaling wise, actually seeing our main villain getting pieced up by base Mel, even if it makes sense and is consistent with what NAKABA had already established in the original series with Meliodas' power growth, it still insane to me. It's still like, and notably, Mel is still likely sandbagging, genuinely sandbagging, but he's still bullying Arthur. It's not like it's actually bad. Like it's gonna get worse. I'm stuck on this. It's gonna get worse. As we see Meliodas ask, "Are you really Arthur? Tell me, you fiend!" And naturally, Carther goes, "I'm not sure what you mean." But like at this point, Carther, you gave the game up. Well, maybe this form is just more optimal for fighting in. But Carther, Brody, he saw you try to slaughter all the innocent civilians of Camelot. Like, Carther, that was last chapter. Bro, spread it open already. Just go full count. Like, I don't really get it now. Now at this point, now that you've given up the game that you supposedly have given up on humans and you don't want to play with them anymore, randomly. Brody, why are you even so LARPing, bro? I know. Oh, but Arthur super duper corrupted him. I know. Cool headcanon, bro. It's literally mine too. But still, I don't know, man. It doesn't really make sense why he's still playing that. Oh, yeah, I couldn't be anybody else. What do you mean you think I'm someone else? I'm only Big Papa Arthur. I've just gone evil. But with that being the case, we see Meliodas kick off a wall and just smack Carther away, literally bouncing him off one of the buildings and just doing it in the worst way. Is it as bad as Chaos King Arthur was being done by Lancelot? Kind of, sort of, because I'll give Arthur's pre-time skip performance this. not only did he, without the Chaos Eyes, mind you, push that King Mel to Demon Mark, at least seemingly to protect Tristan, but also, the second the Chaos Eyes popped out, Lance didn't really do much. Even when he, like, made Carther get a little bit worried, Lance put a hole through him, but it didn't matter. Like Carther literally opened a hole in his chest. He was, like, perfectly fine with that. He essentially was able to deal with that Lance at that time. Here, he's just being pressed with Chaos Eyes by Base Mel. This is just happening. Brody, what? But with being the case, we see that Meliodas, and I do like this. I don't know why, like, once again, I don't know why he's damaging his own infrastructure. Mel, you can literally fly. In base, too. You may be like, oh, well, he'd have to actually... No, he doesn't. We've seen him fly in base with his darkness wings. Why are you damaging your own infrastructure, bro? But he digs a foot into the castle. Once again, for just a really cool shot, like, I'll admit, NAKABA in these 2 chapters goes absolutely crazy with the art design, the character design, the posing, everything. Like, it's just... But we see Meliodas say, the Arthur Pendragon I know sought only happiness for his people. He'd never be so egotistical and arrogant about ruling as king. And he also wouldn't, try to annihilate his people, Mel. Like, it is interesting what Mel focuses on. I think it does speak to his own character, right? Especially the idea of he himself not necessarily wanting to be king, but taking up the role because he had to. And specifically to Mary Elizabeth in this current incarnation. But it is interesting that he doesn't really bring up the idea that he abandoned his people. Right? Like, he abandoned and was about to slaughter them. No, it's not that. It's the idea that he is so obsessed with being king. That's what's grabbed Meliodas' attention as the off thing here. Which does speak, like... But still, I don't know. I think there are some times where I am just going too deep into it. I genuinely think... It would be... Arthur could be... Man, maybe I do need to just huff copium. Because I've like, people love Arthur, and I still don't really get it. I just need to go reread Arthur stuff again. Maybe there's something I'm missing, because I just don't think Arthur's that interesting of a character. I don't think Mel really had enough time with him to judge the content of his character too much. But still, I feel like trying to annihilate all your own people is a pretty surefire sign to say, that's probably not Arthur. But we see Kath literally gets done so dirty. Carther gets done so dirty, he's literally wiping blood from his mouth, bro. Chaos Eyes and all. There's no hopium and copium. The only hopium and copium is, oh, well, he's not wielding Excalibur, which is true. The fact that he's still wielding Carwanon likely does imply that the real Excalibur was likely taken by Merlin and the real Arthur. So, like, that's cool to know and seemingly have confirmed here, considering he's still wielding Carwanon. But majority of Chaos Man is bleeding. Needs to wipe the blood from his mouth after fighting Base Mel. A Base Mel who likely is still somewhat conflicted and holding back. Brody, what? But, with it being the case, we see Mel gets caught off guard and snatched up by meaty, juicy, thick, monstrous tendril of interesting design. I will admit, it is neat to see Carther, now that the gig, or really, Arthur, well, no, I got it right. Carther giving the game up a bit more. Like, notably, if you look at a lot of Carther's previous Chaos manifestations, they were a much better balance of light and darkness, where there was a whole bunch of darkness, but there still was a good balance of light, to sort of imply that, oh yeah, Carther is still Arthur, still like a human. But now that we know, and now that we know it's Kath, now that Kath has given the game up in a way by attacking in the way that he has, we see that his construct arm that he makes here, it has its aspects of light in it, but it's still so much more darkness. It's a good visual way of showing how Carther's whole entire mindset has changed now that he's still LARPing, but he now doesn't have to LARP as hard. And we see, as Meliodas gets ripped out of the wall, Arthur says this, well, you've had some change as well, haven't you? Or no, you've only grown weaker! And he slammed, and I do love this, the way that NAKABA has Arthur reel back and just throw him, Meliodas gets thrown and bashes into the ground. Literally, I love this detail too. Carther literally skips him off the castle wall. Like, you see, he lands, he bounces off here, and then slams into the ground with a massive boom. Good stuff, good choreography. But Carther, what are you talking about? Genuinely, on this good green earth, what is bro yapping about? like, Brody, Crody, Bromigo. If you thought this was true, like, I know Kath is not the sharpest spoon in the kitchen shed. I'm not either. But I'm sorry, Brody. If he truly was weaker, right? And, like, the thing is, I'm not sure how much of this is Carther being stupid, or how much of this is NAKABA not remembering his own power scaling. Two things can be true, don't get me wrong, but, like, let me go through what Carther goes on to say here. After he skips Meliodas like a rock on water, we see. Oh wait, actually no. Okay, so I'll get into it now. A little bit, but Carther's gonna bring it up again, and I'll go in more in depth. But I want you to think: if half of what Carther said was true from his own perspective, he's just an idiot. We'll get to it in a bit, but he's just an idiot. But we see Meliodas get skipped down the wall, thrown into the ground, absolutely validated. All in base, mind you, all in base by KSI's mutated arm Carther. But we see everyone get worried and concerned here. No! It's madness! King Arthur's attempting to do us in himself! It's all over for it. This is why I say, like, there still is some art ink. Like, obviously, this guy's hair is meant to be inked. But this right here, I will obviously, once I get into 223, I'll be even more clear about how much my toes curl negatively at this. How much my toes curl negatively at this. But just put it in your mind for now. King and Diane are struggling against Pelgard. Together. Put it in your head, marinate it, wiggle your fingers around, just focus on that idea. Alright? King and Diane are currently being 2v1. 2v1. They're 2v1ing. They're ganking. Pelgard. Put it in your dome, wiggle it around, swish it in the back of your throat, and spit it out like some Listerine. But with it being the case, we see that the people are starting to give up hope, naturally, as they are seeing the Sins fight, and Arthur's fighting, and it's not looking very good. It's all over for us. And naturally, the souls of the afterlife are like, please don't join me right now. I'm not into this. Don't give up, darling. And the guy says, I won't. So don't vanish on me. Like, I know this is not meant to be funny. This is not, but specifically the timing of, I won't. So don't vanish on me. And Gareth immediately being like, oh! League, I can't give any more. And he just stops and they all vanish. It's not meant to be funny. I know it is. I can't help it though, it tickles me. Oh, it tickles my ribcage, bro. The idea that this second they're like, oh no, we're falling into despair. We could really use the reinforcement of our loved ones. Garrett's like, man, you know how many people you are? I just summoned enough for a whole kingdom, dog. I'm out. And it doesn't even seem like he's power limit braked. Like, this is just Gareth on regular. Gareth, the crack man. But we see that Houser says, you did well. And now all the people who have just lost their loved ones are like, oh, I had to get 2-for-1 specialed. I lost my place where I didn't have to pay taxes. And now I lost my lover or my loved ones for a second time. I'm about to start tweaking. And we see that literally one of the guys says, my lover was merely an illusion. And the king I trusted betrayed us. And naturally, an older gentleman says, what can we trust at all? And we see, of all characters, Guinevere pop out and actually take on a pretty queenly role for a 14-year-old. I'm going to get more explicitly mad at this fact, which is just a fact, next chapter. But with it being the case, we see that Guinevere says, it's time to judge it with your own eyes. And we see the older gentleman say, oh, my lady. Judge what it is true and what is not. Who deceived you? Who toyed with your minds and then tried to hurt you? Queen Guinevere! Like, and you know what? I know historical accuracy is a thing. I know it was not, unfortunate. In some cases, in some places today, which still discuss. I don't care. Culture it all you want, man. It's still weird. But I know in some places today, it's still a thing where, like, child brides are a thing. Because Guinevere's a child. Let's not play this game. Oh, but she's 14. It doesn't matter. She's a child. And while I do believe the whole your brain finishes maturing at 25 thing is like false, because your brain never stops maturing, if anything in you stops, that's a bad thing. Like, you don't want anything realistically in you to stop ever. So, like, the brain maturing at 25 thing isn't even like a real thing. But, like, think about it. Guinevere's not, in most countries, Guinevere's not old enough to even get her learner's permit. She still has 2 years off from that. I live in the States. She couldn't even get a learner's permit right now. But she's Queen of a Nation. Like all these full-grown adults. I look at her. That's kind of crazy. It's also kind of crazy that she's a 14-year-old. This will come back. It's on this later. But with it being the case, we see that Guinevere says, and who fights to protect you, despite you denouncing them as great sins? Okay, but literally Guinevere, that is their title. Like, Guinevere, you are like legally correct in the sense that they are denounced as great sins, but like, they are the seven deadly who? 7 deadly strokers? 7 deadly suckers? 7 deadly siphoners? No, seven deadly sins, even though there are only 5 of them right now. But with it being the case, we see Pelgard swing rocks out. He literally destroys a part of the building. This isn't me getting mad at this just yet. I'll get mad at the next panel in a second. But very specifically, I want you to fathom how strong Pelgard is. Like, just think about it in the grand scheme of the scaling that is established within Seven Deadly Sins duology at this point. Think about how strong Pelgard is. That swing, in terms of AP, the lowest you can put is like star at this point. At this point, like legit, lowest is kind of star. Well, really, the lowest is like planetary. Brody. I don't know. Some people like just thinking about like thinking about the power levels that these characters are at versus what they're doing. It's giving me. It's obviously a much more grounded version of it, but it's giving me such hard Dragon Ball Super flashbacks. Like, obviously, I'm not saying this really since cast like multiverse or anything like that. Not yet. But like, in terms of these like crazy destroying macrocosm tier characters doing base level property damage. And don't get me wrong, I see Worldane here. So technically, while it looks like Pelgard is 2v1ing right here, technically, no, it is Pelgard and Worldane who are currently doing this. So Pelgard sends the rocks, Diane body blocks the rocks, and King is currently 1v1ing Worldane. Now, I'll admit, I am not very happy with the current turn of events. I'll go more into it. Once again, 223 is it's the one who knocks right now. It's really lingering at the door. But I am not happy with this, mainly because, in fact, in actual factuals, I'm going to do something a little bit silly. I'm going to go back in time as I talk about this, but I just want you to look at this. I want you to look at this, and we won't even really... No, I'll bring it up here, because he's fighting Worldane. In fact, I was going to say, you know, I won't actually go into it right now. I'm going into it right now. Oh, I'm going into it right now. So, I want you to remember, these are the base Chaos Amp 4 evils. Sure, they have the regen, sure, they have their minds wiped, but these are the base 4 evils, not the super crazy chaotic monster versions that the 4 knights, remember, according to Lance, could have handled. They could have handled them. So, let me pull up. This is essentially, it's not really confirmed that they got any super amp beyond that. It's just what they are, they're Huss now. So let me see. So, I want you to remember that Worldane was getting violated with a capital V, olated, was getting violated and one-tapped, literal one-tapped by, let me see if I can find it, violated and one-tapped by King. She literally went out of her way to massively nerf the man with a curse. To drastically decrease his power. And she practically almost instantly died by one hit of the regular Spirit Sphere. She was not supposed to be on the level. Remember, in fact, I want you to remember. Well, to be fair, that was an un-Chaos Amped Iron. Essentially, this is Chaos Amped Worldane. She gets viciously violated by Full Wings King. That's just how it is. She literally need to go out of the way to nerf. This is just how it was set up. Dog. Why is King struggling with Worldane? NAKABA. This is, I can't say you forgot this. NAKABA. It wasn't even 100 chapters ago yet, NAKABA. Why is he struggling? And I know you're going to be like, well, Pencil Man, he's protecting the civilians. No, Diane's protecting the civilians. King should and could one-shot Worldane with True Spirit Spear. What collateral damage is that doing? What collateral? Am I just meant to believe that Worldane is now just infinitely stronger, even though she's not in her Super Chaos Amp form? I hate it. But we'll get back to it in a second. As we see, the people are watching the Sins protect them. And Kother, I don't even know what Kother's doing right now. I'll never go captain you, Brody. I don't know what Kother's doing. I'm assuming just because we see Bond going band for band with Beltreep here, I'm assuming Gother's fighting Ironside, and we just don't see Ironside. But right now, Gother's kind of just standing around ore farming, because, man, heaven forbid NAKABA Suzuki like Gother actually doing here. You think of relevance, bro. If heaven forbid he does anything with a lick of relevance, power-wise. But we see the people saying, oh, wait, actually, hold on. I think it's still Guinevere. Guinevere says, we were all fools. We believed we could live in paradise forever with those we lost. It was simply too good to be true. And it led us to betray the very people who protected the world for us. At least I think. Maybe that's meant to be this guy speaking. But obviously, there is just the idea that now that the truth has been revealed, now that they've been put in a position where they truly see the scenario at hand, they realize the mistakes they've made. And I do think it's fine. Once again, I honestly wish, speaking of the Suzuki Senseis again, I wish the civilians in Sakamoto Days were written like the civilians in Seven Deadly Sins, the duology. Because they are, none of these are named characters. We're never going to see them again. They're all relevant. I think they are still true human people. As much as I think that I would react mostly negatively if I was put in a Camelot-esque situation, especially if I knew. Even if I didn't know, I think I'd be paranoid. I always think about it in like the dream sense. I mentioned this many a time before. I have lost people before, and whenever they pop up in a dream, I'm like, I'm dreaming. Even if, because typically I don't know when I'm dreaming. I don't know when I'm having a nightmare. I don't know any of that until I wake up. Then I'm like, I was conscious. I've lived out entire lifetimes in dreams and never noticed. But the second someone I know for a fact I've lost and I've cried and I've like gone, like I've emotionally reconciled with their loss, the moment they pop up in a dream, I'm like, I'm dreaming. And then it immediately turns into a lucid dream, or sometimes I immediately wake up. Like the brain will glitch immediately. It's like, we can't keep him in this lie. So like, I think I would react negatively. I know many people who would have this very human reaction and the willingness to live in delusion. So I don't blame them, and I'm glad they do feel, not necessarily penance, but like they feel sad and guilty about that they let the people that they lost down because they could not move on their own. That is a very human thing, and I'm happy that they're moving forward from that. But we now see, while Carther ain't giving up the full game, he is going a little bit more freaky as he lets the darkness and light grow out more and more and more into this super freaky, nasty chaos arm. But we see that Meliodas is still fighting at base. To be fair, though, this seems to be right after the knockdown of when he was skipped like a rock. But we see Meliodas remove the drip. And I'll admit, I'm a little bit sad that Meliodas removes the drip. My favorite thing about this fit is the fluffy king coat. That's one of my favorite things about him. And I don't know why. Well, to be fair, I know why. It's because the king coat is probably likely just more difficult to draw. And I would have resisted. So, like, the reason he removes the king coat is the same reason why Bond's going to lose his clothes next chapter, because it's easier to draw Bond without clothes. But, with being the case, we see that Carther goes on to critique Meliodas on his history. Or not necessarily his history, but realistically his development away from his history. As he says, Meliodas, former head of the 10 Commandments, the evil demon prince once feared by all clans. ... But what do we have now? A pretty wife, a darling son, and the people of Leonis? More and more things to love, binding you down. A painful sight to see indeed. And we see him turn and leer at the castle, a grin on his face. Now I will admit, as much as I do like this arm, I wish he kept this. I wish, like, as much as I still do believe the whole idea that he's giving up the darkness game more and his construct should be darker, I wish, like, maybe this hand was more that. Like, he didn't just revert back to this, like, crab claw kind of thing. I wish he did kept the wings. Maybe, like, he swung with half, like, light goddess wings or, like, darkened goddess wings in, like, the dark wings of the demon clan. But we see he essentially just says, Mel's washed. He's fallen off. He's gotten too many connections. He's very... Carther sounding very red pill / black pill here, like, how dare you find things you love and grow and develop as a person and gain emotional intelligence instead of just being a cool alpha sigma. What is it? Alpha sigma? Yeah, I know beta's bad. That's supposedly there. But like alpha sigma omega. Megaverse. I've heard weird things about that. But regardless, all that. He's essentially saying Meliodas is washed. But like, Carther, what does that say about you? Like, this is where I'm like, he's just yapping. Like, he must be yapping, or NAKABA forgot that the whole reason Carther didn't do this before is because he was scared. Whole reason he never invaded Leo's boat is because he was scared. He was scared of Mel. He was scared of Mel and the Seven Deadly Sins. He specifically told his guys don't fight them because he was scared. So if Mel is washed, why were you ever scared? Why didn't you just bomb rush diff him? What? Is it because you were scared? Because you knew you were Father Carther? Is that it? I don't know, man. I don't know. He's talking straight nonsense. It's nonsensicals, bro. But we see Meliodas go, wait, what? And Carther immediately turns around and swings directly for the castle in order to cut it in half and obviously put Slater, Elizabeth, Bartra, and anyone else in the castle in danger. And Slater goes, what on? And Elizabeth goes, ah! And Meliodas goes, Elizabeth! And I go, Nakaba. Nakaba Suzuki. I am sick and tired of these games. You play in my face like I'm some sort of fool. You mean to tell me you had this goddess Elizabeth going band for band with the half-power Demon King in Zeldris' body 18 years ago, but now her life is in actual threatening danger from a building. This was the same woman in a previous incarnation 3,000 years ago, comparable to Assault Mode Meliodas in terms of reactions and combat speeds, according to you. But now her life is in danger because of a building being cut in half. Why do you do this, Nakaba? Why do you fill me with such vitriol for how you write these female characters? And it is mostly the female character, but still, why? Why? I don't get it. I don't. This should not be a problem. This should not. And even I'll admit, once again, the smaller scale of this chapter works because, you know, they need to fight Leonis. But at the same time, it is very silly to see Meliodas yells, Elizabeth! And then lunges in and is struggling to hold up a building. Like, call me a little bit tweakalicious. You can call me a little itty bit tweakalicious. But like, y'all remember Bon and Meliodas' wrestling match? In like, what, the 5th episode of season 1? When Meliodas was a fraction of 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 a decimal point of his current strength level? But he's struggling to hold up a building? Like what? Like what? Like what? Like, I get it, we need to have tension for something, but like, Brody, what? What are we doing? What are we doing? There's tension for tension's sake. You're like, really? Really? Like he's truly struggling to hold the building up. And Elizabeth is not helping at all. But, with it being the case, or Diane isn't helping. You do rock stuff, Diane. But we see that Carther says, have I proven my point, Meliodas? The simplest thing is all it takes to rob you of your freedom. Though, like, not necessarily, because you take Elizabeth away, they're just going to tweak out on you, which would, in fact, do the opposite. It would actually liberate him. So, Carther, once again, I've been saying this consistently, what are you yapping about? But, we see the building is held in place, and Slater holds on, Lord Portra! And, naturally, Elizabeth's like, this magic force. Meliodas, Elizabeth, why can't you do anything? Why can't you fly? Why can't you fly Bartra and you and Slater out if you can't physically lift the building because your buns and lifting straight? Like, what? Like, Elizabeth, like, oh man, and like, let me put it like this: if Elizabeth wasn't hyped up in the way she's hyped up, like I'm talking relative, if not just stronger than Mayel, being thanks to being equal to Prime Demon or Prime Assault Mode Leader of the Ten Commandments Meliodas, or at least being able to do something to him, and then of course doing things to the half power Demon King. Like if she wasn't given so much glaze, if she really was just some random goddess fodder, then maybe I'd be like, oh okay, it's fine. You know, of course she needs to be saved by her. But, like, she's the other main character of Seven Deadly Sins original, bro. Mother to one of our current titular characters. Arguably the strongest non-Supreme... Well, no, I didn't even think it's arguably. I do think just because of her, like, quote-unquote equivalency and quote-unquote relativity to Prime Assault Mode Mel, which is which he knows the Mel she fought, because the panel that is supposed to, like, prelude their fight is Mel in Assault Mode, which we never see Mayel push Meliodas to. So, like... That character is now scared of a falling building. That character who is known to have wings and be able to fly and spell them on command is unable to drag her father figure and a homie out. Like, really? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? But we see that Meliodas holds up the building. And once again, he is in pseudo base. He's not going full demon mark. He's just doing the whole, like, I'm infusing myself with darkness thing, which is still crazy. So you mean to tell me, Mal, you're able to bully... well, to be fair, lifting strength and strength are different things. But Mal, you mean to tell me in Season 1, in full base, you're able to destroy an entire dungeon, just the arm wrestling? And then, now, literally, arguably, infinitely higher than you were then, and you now need to whip out a little bit of demon juice to hold the building. That's a little... And I think the castle is smaller than Boss Day Dungeon. It's not looking too good. But we see that Meliodas goes, That's a big mistake. I'm far more powerful than 3 millennia ago. And that's true. He's literally like, unironically, y'all may think, okay, Pencil Man, I think you may be glazing a little bit, just a little bit too much. You may be hopping on a little bit too much tip. You may be hopping tip, hop, but like, I need y'all to fathom the gaps between Mel's, bro. Think about it just for a second. Think about how big the gap is between that prime assault mode Mel who couldn't do anything to Demon King to the Mel who's bullying Chaos King Arthur and base, bro. Like, what is Arthur yapping about? What is Brody going on about? But with it being the case, we see that Carther goes, "You're a funny guy," and he starts giving Meliodas back shots. Now, I'll be honest with you. If you told me we were ever going to get official material of Kath possessing Arthur's body, giving Meliodas back shots, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are. This is the kind of thing in the manga. He's literally poking Meliodas in the back. And like notably, the reason I say poking is because he's not doing any damage. Like, what? Is this meant to be intimidating? Is this meant to be like? And this is my big thing. Well, you know what? No, I'll get into it because we're right here at the end of the chapter anyway, so I can go into how like dumb, stupid, absurd this is for our main villain, our main villain of Four Knights of the Apocalypse. He's trying to thunk into Meliodas' back or stab into him. It's not doing anything. Sure, Meliodas is grunting. Ah, arg, oh, dog. He's literally just getting a massage. No healing. Still in base. All that. And we see Carther saying, "Still claim you're stronger now. On what possible basis?" And we see Mel appear right behind Carther, saying, "The way I can convert every drop of my blood to fight for those I love." And naturally, Carther's like, "What?" And turns around and gets, yeah! And like, here's the thing. I've seen people defend this as like, oh, well, you know, Carther was off guard, Carther this, Carther that. Dog, I would agree that this would matter more if Carther was off guard and like maybe his reinforcement. Dog, he literally takes comparable damage when Meliodas lunges directly at him when he's lunging directly from Meliodas. He's fully battle ready here, and he still loses this exchange and needs the white blood from his mouth. Sure, maybe his guard was lowered slightly here because he wasn't expecting a clone, but like, bro, Carther's just buns. This is our main villain, mind you. This is our current main villain. I'm sorry. As much as me and many others are hoping and coping for a Lancelot possession, I've seen now going around there's a Bond possession theory, like Chaos or Kath taking over Bond's body, and that's why Lance has to catch his dad's body in that future time. Like, I've seen so many hopes for this. But there is no cope. Carther just buns. Like, let's be real honest with ourselves. Outside of pure copium, Carther is just buns. He is not main villain material. And like, here's my thing, right? Am I saying that I want every major main antagonist to be like Madara level, prime pain? Like, do I want every single major antagonist to come off as dumb, stupid, cracked, unbeatable? No. Honestly, not. I don't think so. I think sometimes some characters or some mangaka or just writers in general go too far down the scale and make their main character's opponents so powerful that it doesn't even make sense for them to lose. This is embarrassing. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you put it, this is our main villain, y'all. This is our main villain. This is our main villain. Right now. I know. Technically, this is all fantastic for the longevity of the narrative, right? Obviously, if Meliodas, not even one of the titular characters, is taking the main villain for a walk like this, using Lost Vein, which splits his power up, well, Arthur's in chaos. It means everything's good, right? It means the narrative's gonna go on for a real long time, because there's no way this is our final villain. I'm sorry. Whatever aura, whatever presence, whatever girth Carther once had, right? Because Carther. It's gone. Atomized. Reduced to dust. And I'll admit, it looks very, very cool. I love this panel of Meliodas affirming that his strength is born of his love and how he's grown stronger with that. I love that. Of all things to do to Arthur, he doesn't slice him in half. He doesn't do anything. He specifically takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, curls it up, and just straight right in his mouth. I love how he spriles. What does that mean? Sprawls back, rolls off the ground, looks up in disbelief as he sees one Meliodas holding up a building, and then notices he's surrounded by multiple other Meliodases. I love the twisted angle that it's at. I love the way that NAKABA drew it. It's all beautiful. But y'all, this is our main villain. Like, upscale for what? Upscale for, like, the power scale, the cross verse in particular scale, I mean, is like geeking and tweaking, bro. Do you know what characters I can now throw against base Meliodas in actually a real fight? I could legit throw base King Meliodas in the Cell Saga and... I don't know, Cell's gonna have a good run for his money. Like, he's gonna get ganked by characters, by literally, remember, if this is, like, unless you think this is the original Meliodas, and it's a clone holding up the building, which is still, like, insane. That means Meliodas, a clone of Meliodas, because let's see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, assuming these, let's say this is still Meliodas, this Meliodas is the one that punched him in the face, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Meliodas and 6 holding up the building. Unless NAKABA, once again, unless NAKABA forgot, which could be possible, unless NAKABA forgot how Lost Vein works. Remember, Lost Vein, well, actually, you know what, though? Funnily enough, this could unironically fit into my theory on Lost Vein. And my theory on Lost Vein was, it makes physical copies that have the exact same, at least, physical stats as Meliodas. They just don't have the same raw magic power. The reason I say that is it would really make sense for something that has, what, like a fifth of his magical potential or his overall potential to be able to react to the same things he does in unison, unless you think Meliodas is always just like multiple times faster than whatever he's reacting to. So personally, a clone being able to bully Arthur like this just means my theory could be correct. But if we go with the idea that magical force, which seems to be the culmination of one's being, is split, and not only that, remember, Lost Vein takes half of Meliodas' magical force and splits that half amongst how many clones he makes. So this clone that punched Arthur in the face may be a 1/5 of that half. So a 10th of Meliodas' power is bullying Chaos King Carther. Sit that in your mind. Sit that in your, as a person who is pushing for base Mel to be stronger than true magic Mel. Sit that in your mind. A 10th of Mel's strength may be bullying the Chaos King. And I know, he was off guard. But not only does he turn around after being specifically told what's about to happen to him, he's already in Chaos Eyes, y'all. He's already in Chaos Eyes. He's already using a whole bunch of his power. Meliodas hasn't even gone demon mark. Heavens forbid he activates assault mode. Brody, it's over. It's all like legitimately, it's any, to be fair, I'll admit, I had long since lost respect for Carther all the way back when Lance first sunned him. I really, and I've been having these same talks about like, I can't take the main villain seriously. Since he showed up and got stepped on, right? But it just keeps getting worse. I every time I think NAKABA Suzuki cannot make his major antagonist look worse, he does. And I still say this, I know I should have made this before, but I really don't get why. Why particularly for Arthur? I'm telling you, I do not, don't get me wrong, the previous major or main antagonists have had their moments of like silliness or bumminess, but like, Galen had aura all the way to the end. Oh, almost all the way to the end. But Galen had aura. Velasquez had aura. Hendrickson in season 1 had aura. Even Froggen got himself a mote of Arthur? Carther? Our main antagonist? Oh, what? The Demon King was nothing but aura. The Supreme Deity had so much aura she couldn't even move and we couldn't see her face. Like, the major antagonists and main antagonists have had aura before. I don't know what it is. I don't know why NAKABA is so against making Arthur feel like a viable threat. Like, he feels like a regen merchant. He truly just feels like, oh, that's it. That's the only thing he has. Other than that, he's just punts. He's just punts. And they're about to take him to the demon couch and show him what Elizabeth goes through every other night, with 5 Meliodases all on top of him. But, with it being the case, we see King and Diane. In this case, I'm assuming they're still, like, multi-teaming. Like, I'm gonna assume that presumably Worldane is still fighting alongside them. But, like, Ironside is holding off the attacks of King and Diane. Like I said, I'll get madder at it in a second, don't worry. But, with it being the case, we see all these different attacks being rained down, and specifically, a rock goes to nearly crush Guinevere. Instead of fight or flighting, here's the fight or flight in her. It's freeze and brace her arms up. But she gets saved immediately by a certain someone who's completely disengaged with the battle. It seems to be holding back massively for one reason or another. Though we'll find out he could easily end this battle in an instant, which is like, so you just like spending the taxpayers' money, Bond. Is that all I'm hearing? As we see Guinevere go, huh? And naturally Bond asks, hey, you alright, little lady? And she goes, Lance's father? And Bond is like, what? Not even in the sense that she's wrong, but like, how do you know that? How do you know that? Though admittedly, they do look very similar. So maybe one would assume just by seeing Lance and then seeing Bond, which would make sense. But still, regardless, that's where the chapter ends. Overall, it's a W chapter, but like, it's a W chapter that hurts my soul. Well, to be fair, it hurts Carther. This is the case where NAKABA can get away with the aura and the coolness and the culmination of it all. Like this, we've been building to this, arguably, not even since the start of Four Knights. We've been building to this, specifically, since end of Seven Deadly Sins. We all knew it was going to happen. Did we expect it to happen in this way in particular? Did we expect Carther to be this way? No. But seeing the start of the Seven Deadly Sins versus the Chaos King is something that we have been building to for years. And the only thing that I'm disappointed in is the four evils. Really, no, I'll be honest. The thing I'm disappointed in, well, really, it's King Diane as well. Really, King. But the true thing I'm disappointed in is the Chaos King himself. Don't get me wrong, is it really cool to see Meliodas and Base go band for band with and even bully Chaos King Arthur a bit, even with partial clones? Absolutely. It is cool. It's really cool. But it's like swallowing a bitter medicine, right? It's like swallowing a bitter pill. We're like, I know I need to do this, but I don't like that. That's how I feel in this moment, where I'm like, yeah, okay, but this is our main villain, y'all. But I've almost, like, I've had this debate even with Sakamoto's before, talking about the other Suzuki Sensei again. I had this debate with Sakamoto's before. I'm like, do I take credit away for something that's already been established in a previous chapter? And with Sakamoto's, I've kind of let that slide now. Where like I'm not gonna fault. It's despite obviously Sakamoto's, just like Seven Deadly Sins, Four Knights being a continuous narrative. I cannot fault the child for the sins of the father, if you will. So in that case, I feel like I'm legally obligated to let it slide. Carther's been bummy before this chapter. Carther will always be bummy. This chapter is reinforcing his bumminess. And that's fine. So I'm not going to take points off for that. In terms of the culmination, in terms of seeing Meliodas in particular get to show out, even Bong get to show out a little bit, a very, very good chapter. Seeing a very cool design for Arthur, very fantastic choreography and artwork. This is a very good chapter. Seeing the humans come together to reconcile over their failures and their misunderstandings and their mistrust is fantastic for the just general human cast. Seeing Guinevere step up as a leader is an interesting choice, just because, child. But regardless, still a good moment for her character. And even seeing Meliodas reaffirm himself, especially in the face of Carther, who believes that he was stronger when he was isolated, because Cath is innately an isolated being. Seeing Meliodas prove his strength, not just by protecting what he loves, even though I don't like what that does for Elizabeth, because Elizabeth, you should be more than powerful enough to take care of this yourself. But regardless, seeing Meliodas reinforce that, completely bullying Arthur, while he still has all his connections, and he truly believes in them, and him bullying Arthur, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Overall, I can let it slide. But now let's hop on to chapter 233. And this one, this one. But we see a nice little glimpse of what the other, not necessarily the Four Knights themselves, but the Knight Squadrons are doing. While it seems that the Knights themselves, why does he look so large? It's literally because of the lady overlapping me. I didn't realize it was a lady. I was like, what, Kion, why'd you get so puffy? But no, that is just his regular fit. But essentially, we're seeing the Knight platoons. They are guiding the people of Leonis and now formerly the people of Camelot out and about and moving them along. We see Kion using, I forget their names. They're the Earth Spirits, the high-grade Earth Spirits that Cantris fought. I forget their names, though. He's using them to, like, guard the building destruction and carry people away to safety. Nasine, seemingly enough, isn't using their Spirit right now. I don't know why she isn't. I think it'd be very useful to getting people out, or like at least have Fluffy Percival, but that may be happening off screen. We're getting a very limited perspective of Nasine, and has no powers, at least not powers that would be relevant in this scenario. So of course she's just guiding along, and we see Ballin and Hauser both just absolutely chatting out, swinging out, protecting people. And I don't know what Ballin's attacking, though. I'm assuming he's just attacking rubble that's falling towards people. But Ballin's goaded, so I don't even care. But it is nice to see the 4 Knights platoons are at least doing something. And as people pointed out in the prior review, it is very likely that the 4 Knights themselves have already infiltrated Camelot looking for Merlin. Do I think they'll find her? No. But that's still the main question this does raise is, how does Lance get back here? Because Lance needs to be here, right? Lance in particular needs to be here. So that's why I wonder, like, how is he going to get back if no one else is? And why would he be back? I don't know. But with it being the case, we have chapter 223, What I Wish to Protect. Let's get into it. We see that Bond, finding random little 14-year-old girl that somehow knows his name and knows his familial relations, is like, hang on, little lady. You're saying you know my son? Which is interesting, because, like, a lot of people should know Lance at this point. He's, like, basically a royal knight of Leonis. But, with it being the case, Guinevere says, thanks for rescuing me from that. I am Guinevere of Cameliard, and Lancelot and I, we're more than friends, less than lovers, if you will. Oh, what am I even saying? It's just too hard to explain to you. Oh, but one thing I know I can say is that Lance is, to me, Lance could never be replaced. Which, I mean, like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I don't know. And you may be like, Pencil. And y'all may be in your heads like, Pencil, level with me, bro. If she was just the same age as Lance, would you care at all? Like, if she was legit just 18 like the rest of the cast, would you even care? No, not really. I think if she was the same age as the rest of the cast, I think I'd be. Here's the thing. I think I'd be more okay with the general situation, but I don't really find Guinevere that interesting as a character. And that's, like, bad. Because she's one of the major players in Arthurian legend. Like, most iterations of it that naturally include Arthur and or Lancelot, which is most of them. But, like, Guinevere is a dumb, stupid, important character. But, like, so far, like, I don't know, 4 Knights and NAKABA just haven't really done anything to make me care about the character. And, like, the reason I know that's a bad thing for NAKABA is NAKABA's made me care for characters I thought I could never care about in seconds. It's like Jade went from a character who I laughed at the existence of to actually feeling a little something when he kicked the bucket. Like, you can make me I love Ballin. Like, genuinely, if something happens to Ballin, you may see a tear roll down my face. I'm not even joking. Like, I actually really love Ballin. He said, way less screen time, narrative presence than Guinevere. I don't know, I just don't really like how Guinevere is written. I don't like her design. I don't like her implementation. I don't like her ability. I don't like what it does to the narrative. Like, I just don't like Guinevere. And notably, I know I'm not alone on that. To be fair, that poll is a few chapters old, like, probably a few months old at this point. But I did run a poll being like, hey, how do y'all feel about Guinevere? And, like, it looked like 70 to maybe even 75% of y'all were like, y'all just like me. I was like, she's fine. Well, she's there, but I don't really care. Like, that's the thing. I don't really care about Guinevere as a character, and I don't really like her implementation to the narrative. Would it be helped if she was the same age as the rest of the cast? Yeah. I still don't get why NAKABA made the weird. It's just a weird choice. And this chapter only reinforces it's a weird choice, but it's a weird choice to make her really young. I'm not sure if that's like that may be a thing in Arthurian legend. Once again, I do very little research on Arthurian legend, but like, is it a necessary plot point that she's just drastically younger than the cast? And you may be like, 4 years isn't drastically. And you're right, legally speaking, 4 years isn't drastically. But legally speaking, it's still weird. NAKABA is changed so much from original Arthurian legend that even if it was a major plot point in original Arthurian legend, there's no reason to make her a child. It's weird. This is weird. And also, I just think she's boring. But, with it being the case, we see that Bond, the infinitely better character, goes, and Gwen is like, huh? Wait, did I sound weird just now? And Bond says, nah, sorry about that. It's only natural my son and I have similar tastes, huh? Wait till I tell the gang about that. So, NAKABA, you know it's weird. I mean, like, but no, like, here's the thing. I was gonna be like, well, you know, but like, that's just weird. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's just weird. Why is Bond into children? Like, how else am I supposed to read this scene? Oh, well, you should just read it as Gwen and Elaine look like children. Let's not play games. Let's not, hold on. Let me raise the chat a little bit. Let's not play games. They look like children. Bond is openly acknowledging that the love of his life, one who he sacrificed his immortality for, looks like a child. And he and his son share similar tastes. That's weird. The whole Bond and Elaine thing is weird. And like, let me say this clearly. Now, while me, myself, and I, like taller, thicker,
muscular women, that is definitely my preference. And I do know, and I'm in fact friends with petite, full-grown adult women. I've mentioned them before. The one I always talk about when I just throw her over my shoulder whenever she gets a little bit too chaotic and I need to move her from somewhere. Yeah, that's a friend of mine. Never attracted her because she's literally, like, it's just weird. As a man who is only 6'1/6'2", depending on a good day, depending on the shoes I'm wearing, she's 5 foot flat. Dog, Bon is like 7 feet tall. Elaine is like 4 something. That's weird. It's just weird. Like, it's just strange. I'm sorry. And you may be like, well, Pencil Man, you just think that way in terms of, like, the in-manga relationship. I bet you don't care about... No, I think in real life it's weird, too. 6'5", 6... Really, anyone 6 foot... I'm gonna say it. Call me crazy. Why on earth? Well, here's the thing. I'll give women a pass, because do what you want, right? You know, if you like them tall, you like them big, do what you will, go for that. Why are you, as a man who's over 6 feet tall, going for women who are 5 feet and shorter? And like, what? Like, I don't get it. Like, notably, we're late into this review, and I can go like, and don't get me wrong, I get some degree of it. Like, oh, I want to be able to pick my girl up and do that, but like, get stronger then. Even back before I was in the gym, my ex was like 150, 160, 170. She was nice and thick. I was weaker back then. I was also heavier back then too. But still, I could pick her up still anyway. And if I ever couldn't, I'd just get stronger. She was only, at that point, she was like 5 inches shorter than me. I think she was like 5'8", 5'9". Why? Because I was like, women need to be somewhat proportional. I don't get it. And Bond, he's just consistently weird. As much as I love Bond as a character, as fantastic as a character as Bond, he's just weird. He's a weird guy. He's a weird fella. From the whole, and like, it's the consistent reinforcement of Bond being weird. From the whole Elaine situation, which is just strange in general, to him writing up Jericho being interested in his child, full-grown woman, mind you. Like, he's just a weirdo. I like, there's nothing I can do. Bond is a weirdo, but NAKABA is also a weirdo for writing about like this. Elaine did not have to look the way she does. She didn't. Put a foot of height on Elaine and and maybe like a decade of age, physically, appearance-wise, and it's all fine. Literally none of it matters. None of it matters. Same thing with Gwen. Make her the same age as Lance. That's it. Make her the same age as Lance and age her up, obviously. But NAKABA doesn't, because it's weird. Because he's weird. They're just weird. We're not sugarcoating it. I'm not lying. They're just weird. I don't get why. And I will admit, it is definitely, I'm not going to say universal. There are many manga out there that aren't weird. There are manga out there who just aren't weird. But no, NAKABA, he's a weirdo. Like, there's not even doubt about it. As much as I love his fight writing, as much as I love his character writing, as much as I love his world building, as much as I love his power dynamics, I love the magic he creates. He's weird. But off the weirdo things about this, we see Bond walk away now that he's at his job and says, well, be good to Lance for me, okay? He might seem cold and distant at first, but he's a good kid deep down. He's my son, you know. Which, of course, she does know. But I get what Bond means there. And Gwen says, yes, I'm well aware of that. And Sir Bond, he has meant everything to my life. And he'll continue to well into the future. And I know, like, but like, yeah, here's the other thing, right? One, I know petite women exist. Like, that's a thing that happens. Like, literally, the woman there too, like, my sister from another Mister is also just drastically shorter than me. I think she's, what, like, 5'2", maybe 110 pounds soaking wet. And notably, her boyfriend's taller than hell. Like, I still like the guy, though. I'm like, I'm fine, whatever. Do you, whatever you're both into. But y'all are gonna hit me with well, she has the mind of what? Like, she lives to 70-something, I believe. That's what she said. She dies at. So, like, well, she's actually 72. That makes it weird in reverse. Like, there's no saving it. There's no, like, I've heard the same argument for Elaine. Well, Elaine's actually hundreds, if not thousands of years old. It doesn't matter. It's still weird. It doesn't matter how old she is mentally. She looks like a child. And Bond is attracted to children as a full-grown man. That's weird. Lance, I can give a slight pass because, like, he's mentally 15. Fine. It's a little bit weird, but fine. That's Lance gets weirdoed by other older ancient creatures. That's his fault. That's not his. No, that's not his fault. The Lady of the Lake wants him. Jericho wants him. Guinevere wants him. It's all weird. All these old women want Lance. The baby man, the 15-year-old mentally. Like that's weird on their part. Lance is weird. I'll give Lance a pass. But no matter which way you flip it, the Gwen thing's weird and unnecessary. The Elaine thing's weird and unnecessary. The Jericho thing is weird and unnecessary. I've read the volume extra of Jericho having the opportunity to leave Camelot, but no, she stayed there with her fake Lance because she's weird. She's a weirdo. She's a weirdo. But let's see. No matter how deep in the dark I am, he stands there like a moonlight beam, gently lighting the way. I see there because his magic is called hazy. Cool. I once again, I just don't care at all about this relationship. But we see that Bond goes, he does, huh? Hey, by the way, lady, we never met before, right? How would you know I was his dad? She looked at you. like I don't know. And admittedly, I get it. Sometimes people look alike and are not related at all. I always think back to me and my own father. I look nothing like that, man. I know I'm his son, DNA test and all, but like I don't nothing like that. I look nothing like that, man. I look like my mom. I'm literally just a male version of my mother. Like that. Sometimes that stuff happens, but like Lance and Bond literally just kind of the same guy. So she looked, and for two, Lance could, if for them to be more than friends, less than lovers, Lance could have just told her, hey, you know that very famous Seven Deadly Sin man? That's my dad. Shock horror. Why are you surprised about that, Bond? But we see Guinevere says, well, and then we get another flash to that future that Guinevere saw all the way back in the start of part 2. As she sees Lance wielding what looks like to be his possible sacred treasure, a spear of some sort. Same design and everything, too. The exact same design. He's actually, we see more of Lance this time. He's bloodied up. It looks like it was an intense battle. And he's standing over his father. And notably, in this image, Lance has even broken Kurochus. Like you can see Kurochus, his Bond sacred treasure, his 4-section staff, it is broken. And Bond has a massive gaping chest wound. I've seen a lot of people, like the theories I've seen from this now is that like Cass is going to take over Bond's body because Bond gets revealed to have like the super giga indestructible immortal body, and then he literally says at the end of this chapter, the only one who could kill me maybe is my son. So like obviously like that's meant to be the thing, but like I guess it makes more sense than evil Lance, and like Lancelot is at least going out of his way to say Dad, as if he feels bad for doing what he had to do. It doesn't seem like Lance just went evil anymore, which I guess is fine. Like I don't know, man. Anytime, I mean, I guess possession is fine. But like, I find myself saying that over and over and over again with like possible Fortnights or just existing Fortnights revelations. We're like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And like, I know. I shouldn't compare a narrative to how I would have wanted it to what a narrative should actually be. That's not how that works, right? Like, I'm not writing the story. I'm just reading the story and reviewing it. It's like what I want versus what the actual story does. Two completely different things. And notably, there have been times before where I saw a story go a certain direction, but then, after rereading it, after thinking about it, after talking about it more, then I've come to appreciate the direction it goes to in comparison to the direction I originally had planned for it, based on what I read up to that point. JJK is a perfect example of that. It's a series that went in a completely different direction than I was expecting. Certain major things actually that happened didn't even get close to happening at all, or got very close but didn't happen. And certain focuses were shifted entirely. But I still actually really, really like the end of JJK for what it did for certain characters and the general themings and storytelling of that narrative. So, like, I'm not saying it's impossible for an author to veer drastically off the course of what I thought based on what they had laid out prior, and for me not to still like it. Heck, Moggy's another example of a series that was done when I read it, and I reread it, and I have a completely different opinion on the ending of the series. Well, not completely different. I still have many issues with it. Many of the same issues I had initially. But still, I have completely different appreciation for the characters and stuff like that. But right now, I've been sitting on the Carther twist for months now. Still not really. It's fine. And it makes sense because NAKABA didn't want to do any character work. Or it makes sense because of the lack of character work done. It's fine. Any sort of scenario where Bond goes evil because he's possessed or something, or any scenario where Lance goes evil because he's possessed or something, it's fine. It's fine. It's just... But, of course, Bond is in his full king outfit here. Meanwhile, he will lose that king cloak. So there's a possibility of the timeline changing. Obviously, the timeline changed already a little bit from the initial vision, because we see that Arthur's in a completely different outfit, and the four evils are posed completely differently when he says a specific line. So timeline does change, but we'll see. We'll see if this ends up happening or not. But we see Guinevere essentially sit in her own head and go, oh no, I'm fried, as she says, or thinks. She does not say that's the important thing. She says, I repeat, she says anyway, a kaleidoscope dream I've had many times. Somehow it happens. And by Lance's hand. I don't, but see, that's the thing. Is kaleidoscope exact or is it not? Like, what do you mean, somehow? You don't know how it happens? Why do you not know that? Why? I thought you just saw everything in your dream. What's the point? But we see, I have to tell him right now. But if it changes the future, I'll pay an even dearer price later. So she's essentially saying, I gotta sacrifice my father-in-law for my boyf. And we see she tenses, and Bond goes, hey, you alright? Your face went all pale. Can you get out of here by yourself? And Guinevere goes, yes, I can. And obviously a boom goes off in the background, and Bond's like, gosh, darn it, man. Can't they let up? And we see that she goes, Sir Bond, I have to ask. Do you love Lancelot? And Guinevere does critique herself internally here. She goes, I'm such a coward. Which, like, partially I'm like, yeah, maybe you should try and save his life, but at the same time, I get it. She's but that thing is, I can't, no matter what. She's either a 72-year-old grown woman or she's a 14-year-old. Either way, she's a person, so I get her making this internal mistake. And that's, complex character writing is still good. I like one still? No, not really. And a gargantuan forehead. But with it being the case, we see Lance Bond turn and say, hey, if it's for his sake, I'm ready to die anytime. Now, I've seen Ignale in particular be like, Bond reads minds, but I'm like, he may be inferring something. I don't think he actually read her mind. Because I specifically saw the panel that Ignale used to reference that Bond reads minds. And, like, that's just Bond expression reading Elaine in particular. He never does to literally anybody else. He's very emotionally intelligent and perceptive despite being a weirdo. That's it. So I don't think he actually, like, read Guinevere's mind and realized that he's gonna die in some long-term. Like, I don't think that's the case at all. But if you do, okay, whatever. But we see that as Bond flexes that he's ready to die in time for his son, aka Death Flag of Doom and Despair number 37, we see that Gother is getting bodied. But, like, it's Gother. Like who? Like, I'm sorry. I like as a massive Gother fan, it's like a rite of passage for the man to get bodied for absolutely no reason. And I get it, narrative balancing wise. If he had even comparable stats to now Base Mel, yeah, he'd be way too. He'd solve every problem. Gother, unironically, is one of those characters who needs to be a bum. His abilities are too powerful for him to not be a bum. If he were not a bum, the plot literally could not function. So yeah, he's got to be. I don't even know what he was hit by. I didn't know what he was hit by. And then we see. In fact, were they all getting diffed by just world? But we see even King and Diane get knocked back a little bit. To be fair, Diane doesn't take too much damage. It doesn't look like King is taking any damage. But they go, ah, oof. And naturally, Bond is looking over like, oh, sweet mother mercy, bro. Do I really have to upscale myself every single time? What are they doing over there? Anyway, glad to meet you, Guinevere. Come visit my forest someday, huh? And he poofs out of existence, blitzing away. And we see Diane go, ouch! As Guinevere goes, ellipses, exclamation point. And we see her immediately start crying. What? Lancelot, do you know how much you're loved? I don't care about this character, bro. Maybe I'm just me. Maybe, is it me? It may just be me. I may just be the problem. I may be the issue. I may need to, like, sit down and take a long look in the mirror and just start stroking my beard or something. Like, it could wholesale 100 million doing a silly percent be your boy, because, like, I just don't care about this character, bro. Genuinely, you remove Guinevere from the plot, and I could not care less. He makes the plot better, dog. I don't care. Like, whatever. She cries. Of course, Lance knows how much she's loved. If he doesn't, oh well. But we see that Bond blitzes over to his allies, all three of them. So yeah, they were all getting 3v1 by who? By who? Okay, to be fair, it looks like it was a 4v3. But still, Bond goes over and says, darn, you guys get softer in peacetime or what? And both King and Diane growl. And Gother says, maybe so? Okay. Let's read the copium first. We see that Diane says, what do you want? We're trying to get everyone out of here safely as we fight. And King says, and our foes have chaotic power, remember? And Bon, as weird as he is, pulls a me and goes, yeah, whatever. Because there is no excuse. I'm sorry, King. I'm sorry, NAKABA. You cannot make me forget this. I was here. I was present. The reviews are up on the channel. I saw how much King is above these Chaos Ant 4 evils. He should not be struggling like this. Oh, but what about the civilian? If he blitzes and one-taps them as he should with the True Spirit Sphere, they would not be a problem. I can give... Oh, that's crazy. But I can give a pass to Diane. She's always been buns. I can give a pass to Gother. Stat-wise, he's always been buns. King, how dare you do me like this? I didn't bother wasting a lick of stocks on Diane and Gother. Not a lick, not a taste, not a hint. But you mean to tell me you're gonna do full wings King like this? Like this? After glazing him? Like this? Having a whole being sacrifice their autonomy and life like this? Just to nerf him? For shame, NAKABA. For shame. For shame. As we see Bon reveal that he really has truly just been Giga sandbagging and not taking the battle seriously at all. As he says, yeah. And we see Ironside surrounded by one of the spirits. I believe like the King of Wind spirits. We see Worldin using multiple exterminate rays. We see Beltriep about to use a spatial slash. And we see Pelgard swinging around his big old hammer. Not using any magic though. Very strange. Like Pelgard, you can light things on fire, buddy. But we see that in an instant, Bon goes, oh! He snags all the 4 evils, takes them away from Leonis, and instantly pulls them all together. And Diane, King, Gother all look shocked. As Bon goes, okay, sweet. I know it's broad daylight, but how about a little fireworks show? Which is hilarious because it wasn't nighttime. But he uses Banishing Kill on all of them. And immediately annihilates them all. No. Here's my big thing. You know what? In fact, no, we won't. We will. We got time. I got time today. Dog. Let me see. Where is it? There it is. 4 years ago, man. 4 years ago. Golly. Hold on. We're even going to mute it real quick. We're going to click off that. We're going to pull this to the side real quick. We're going to skip that. Brotato chip. I know. It may be my penance to pay, Brody. It may be my penance to pay. Because... Look, but like, the thing is... I knew Ball. I even admitted all the way back then that King was weaker than Bon, alright? I did it. You can see. Diane, Gother, Diane, Merlin, King, Bon. Because King literally just gets percentage. I know that Bon was a tier above King. But why? Why? Is this my penance? Is it because I dared to put them in the same tier? It's because I dared to put Bon above King, but still in the same tier, and the tier beneath Meliodas? Is that why I need to pay for this? What do you mean Bon bullies and one-shots all of them while King is doing no damage and struggling? What do you mean? What do you mean after that? NAKABA, you did this. You set this up. You set this up, King being a threat. How could you do this to me, NAKABA? I trusted you. He banishes and kills him. And you know what? It doesn't get any better. Because everyone's blown away by Bon just absolutely eviscerating all the 4 evils all at once. Whole blood shower. And Diane goes, whoa, that's too much. Diane, please be quiet. Diane, I know you'll never be relevant. I'm not going to get mad at you. But Diane, please be quiet. As we see that Gother says, no, they'll just regenerate. And King says, and not in any normal way too. The twisted magic lurking within them is flaring up like never before. And we see all the blood begin to pull together and throb and throb and throb and throb and throb and throb. to reveal their Giga Amp Chaos States. Remember the same Giga Amp Chaos States that they used in Onfoin, revealing that that was base Worldane that King was struggling with. And base Pelguard, Chaos Amp Pelguard, that King was struggling with. Remember those same Amp Knights that were getting bullied by the Four Knights? Yeah. Remember, in fact, hold on. I'm even going to pull up the Carfax, bro. I'm even going to, because now at this point, I think all those people, because for the longest time, I thought the people saying, oh, well, nah, obviously, like, Tristan and Percy and Gawain, they all absolutely clear King, Diane, Gother. I was giving them Diane and Gother. I was so reluctant to give them King. But honestly, where is it? Was it 199? Okay, it's not 199. Maybe it's probably, because I think 200 was the end. So let's see. Let's take a look. That's Goliath. Yeah. Remember, this is the same Worldane that a casual flying base Percy was doing like this. Like this. He was blitzing and one-tapping her. Hold on. It gets worse. I wish I could say it gets better, but it gets worse. Y'all remember Demon Mark Tristan? You know, the father that was getting bullied by base Meliodas after he got his memories back? Yeah, remember that Tristan? Hold on. Where is he at? They literally tear... Oh, wait, no. So I have to go back. It's here. Gotha gets cut in half because he's a bum. And then... Hey, would you look at that? Both Percival and Tristan literally de-limbed this Beltreep, the strongest of the four evils, and then beat the taste out of him. Chaos and Beltreep, and Gawain one-shots Worldane. Sure, they recover through the Chaos Magic regeneration, but still, it's clear that they are above these four evils. Maybe Beltreep is at best relative to them. King, though? King was struggling. With the base. Now they're Giga Amped. So King stands no chance against these guys. King would lose. King would undeniably lose to these four if he was struggling against the four prior. And we see everyone is even concerned. Giant screams, Bon! And Gotha says, get out of there! And Bon looks on, a little bit bamboozled, and suddenly notes this will be a spatial slash, probably like that crazy Hoarfrost spell. There's the massive, like, bone-shattering vibrations, because I don't know, even this Chaos Amp Pelguard doesn't use his fire magic. And then Worldane probably just some crazy magic attack. Or no, like, I'm not even sure what Ironside's actually adding to this. Maybe just his light. But they go, thwoom, creating a very cool visual effect here, right? Very cool. Meliodas, even, all the Meliodas clones even look on her like, Bon? I was in the middle of bullying Arthur. What do you mean, Bon? No. And we see that Arthur says, it seemed my other halves, in heavy quotation marks. That's how people try to say, oh, so the four evils must have literally half of Chaos' power. He calls them other halves plural. You think they're four halves? Like, at best, you could argue it's like a supreme deity situation, where, like, maybe Carther did take half his power and then give each one of the four evils a fourth of that. Like, they're like the graces. Maybe that's what that's meant to mean. But he says other halves, and he puts it in quotation marks. So I highly doubt it, especially considering he's meat puppeting them right now. It's probably just like direct Chaos Titans. But we see that Carther says, it seemed my other halves have eliminated one of the great legends for me. Only for Carther to look on and be like, wait a minute. There's no way NAKABA's going to do me like this. And King, of all people, starts glazing his brother-in-law and says, you guys don't get it at all, do you? You don't see who you're up against. For his beloved, he gained eternal life, then threw it away. For his friends, he spent a millennium in purgatory, that burning, freezing, rotting place. Not even the king of the demons could crush him. Right now, he possesses the strongest body and spirit in the whole world. I highly doubt that. Mel is right there bullying Carther in base. But, and clone base, mind. But regardless, body in the whole world. And Bon grins to himself as he says, none of you guys can kill me. And then he blitzes and one-taps. In midair, like, Bon can't fly, mind you. Blitzes and one-taps all the Giga KSM 4 evils. He literally decapitates all of them. And he says, well, the only one who can is my son, after all. He says about the only one who can, so I think this is still meant to apply to Meliodas above, which only makes sense. But King is glazing. But overall, Here's the thing. I wish I could just like pull a picture of Ben Grimm. But here's the thing, right? I'm glad Bond's getting an aura moment. Cool. That's neat. That's smooth. That's buttery. I guess my toes, they're like mildly curled. But like, man, it goes back to that question. Do I punish the son for the sins of the father? And not in the literal case of punishing Lance for Bond's sins, but this is our main villain group, bro. The 4 strongest of them get a super giga amp and do nothing. Beltreep, like, you know what the funny thing is? I was talking about this on stream yesterday. Beltreep cuts space. We know that, like, he doesn't just throw slot. He cuts space. And Bond just no self. He takes no damage. None at all. Remember, he doesn't have a healing factor anymore. Bond just takes no damage from spatial. So that means Ryomen Sukuna could stand there, full chant Awakening Slash at Bond, and it wouldn't do anything. Somehow. Bond just immune to spatial attacks now. I think it was Roman who tried to rationalize it. I was like, well, maybe like because of the ultra time space of Purgatory, maybe that's why he's like immune to spatial attacks. But like, that's still dumb, stupid, crazy. Like, realize this singular attack, this attack right here, just based on the scaling that the 4 evils, even in their base states, but especially these amp states that were bullying the knights, that were just bullying them, the sheer power in this attack alone, this wipes Demon Slayer off the map. This wipes JJK off the map. This wipes My Hero Academia off the map. This wipes... Realistically, this attack right here wipes off all of Dragon Ball. Not like the Dragon Ball late Z or Super, but like the whole Dragon Ball, probably the Saiyan Saga, heck, probably a good chunk, if not all the Frieza Saga, if not even higher. Like, really, depending on how strong you think these Chaos Knights are, depending on how strong you think the Knights are, depending on how strong you think Galland is. Like, this attack could arguably be like, is 4 Super... Like, this could be if 4 Super Saiyan 2s all launched a combined Kamehameha. Like, that's what this is, and Bond no-sells it. That's what this is. He's just that cracked. He's that far above every other sin, except for Mel, who's up that far above Bond. Like, it's cool. I'm glad that Bond's getting glazed, even though he's a weirdo, but, like, at what cost, bro? At what, like... How am I supposed to take him seriously? Any of the antagonists, Carther himself, they're bombs! And so are King, Diane, and Bond. Now, it hurt. And it is just because I really like King. Like, I really do dislike King. He's a bit weirdo himself, too, though. Falling in love with the child you upsave, that's a little bit weird. Well, not even a little bit weird. That's actually very weird. I don't slander King enough for that. He's a weird fella, too. Very weird guy. But, still, it's just because I really like King. I'm just sad that I now legit, even though this happened, even though not this, but even though the entire context of King being way above the regular base amp world aim, but they're fighting protect. That's not enough of an excuse. Clearly, it's not enough of an excuse. Bond literally shows off that this entire battle was pointless. He could have easily one-shot them at any point. He just wasn't taking it seriously. King and Diane were supposedly taking it seriously. I'm sad that King had become a bum for Bond to become even more of a monster. That's the one thing that saddens me. Otherwise, the chapter's peak. I mean, I still don't care for Guinevere as a character, and at the rate NAKABA's going, I remember specifically when Guinevere was, like, introduced, not in her, like, preview wedding dress, like, all the way back when Lance was still Sin, but specifically when Guinevere was introduced properly, I said, like, maybe 2 or 3, I forget, I need to go find that review. I think in a review it specifically said, maybe 2-3 years down the line, I'm going to come back and be like, oh yeah, Guinevere's actually a fantastic, great goated character, and I was wrong to assume that she wouldn't be. So far, it's been a couple years since her introduction. Like, that would have been part 1, and we've been in part 2 for, 3 years now? And we were introduced to Gwen around the Leonis arc. So it's been like, we may have literally almost hit, or already hit the 4 or 5 years. Or like, we're on 4. I think we got probably around like 4 years since her introduction. And I still don't care for Gwen at all as a character. So like that's the one weakness of the chapter. I just don't care about that. But I'll take the dramatic tension. I'll take Death Flag number 587. I'll take the cool fights. The choreography is still really, really good. I didn't glaze it as much as I did in the first chapter, but this is a really cool panel. Bond literally transcending the panel he's contained in to literally bully these lesser creatures, to see them burst like this, burst in the blood all recoalesce and throb to them come out as a 4-quad being to this gorgeous attack. This looks amazing. And even seeing Bond flex here all the way at the end, very, very cool. And I've seen a lot of other people cope as well that, oh, look, the prophecy's changed. Bond's not wearing his coat anymore, so Lancey can come and kill him. Yeah, okay. Huff whatever you need to huff, man. I'm pretty sure Bond's fried. But with it being the case, this has been a chunky review. If you've been all the way to the end of it, please leave. Why are they bums? Just why are they bums? In the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that link to notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos of the channel. Also, you can have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Hitting exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks want to close the live reaction to these 2 chapters, but they're going in the ether. But from every other chapter now on, you'll get the live reaction. Sorry about that. And you have all the previous live reactions before Night's reviews that are linked there, and all the live reaction reviews came in Dulo and a bunch of other series. And on top of that, you get early ad-free access to all videos, not just videos like this, but videos for the second channel that got the reaction, link in the description down below. Go check it out. 45-minute to 2-hour-long reaction videos over there. I stream every Friday at 8 p.m. EST. I've talked about the stream a couple times in this very video. I really should have edited this. But essentially, stream every Friday at 8 p.m. EST. We have a wonderful time over there. Currently playing Silk Song, but we're going to play. I think I may take a little bit of a break from Silk Song, even though I need to catch up because the DLC is already coming out at the time I'm recording. But I do want to play some Showdown Online. I always talk about Pokemon and fighting games. I feel like I never played on stream, so I need to play it on stream. But stream every Friday, 8 p.m. EST. Feel free to roll through. Go follow the Twitch in the description down below. On top of that, if you want to drop 5 minutes for a short video, 20 minutes a long video, or any means at all, any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, Che2MA, Gyomi, Buddha Ura, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Magic, CCC, Dino, Hector Gonzalez, Tim Thomas, Kilving, Julian Perez, RXN, Nevis97, Logan Guzman, Dead Meme, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, Hamza Idrisi, BNA DNA, Edwin Idbignova, Straw, Athenzi Shear, Antavius Mitchell, Azo2404, Superflame Zero, Weary Exile, Window Life, Alex Kenny, Victor Jacobs, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, CA, ET, Funny Dude, Jagoda, Plant Crone, Striker Man, Brandon Payne, Black Sage, Multi-Batman Superman, Ramondo Furen, Zalims, Enzo, Union I Metatron, Sheesh King, Joe Bean, Aswin Heriprasetya, Sleep In John, JMB, KD, and the Young Family, Pastel Pandora. Then, ladies and thank you to Artline Art Tier patrons: A+A, Kevin Encarnacion, Sean, Dread Zoen, Midnight Lord 21, Karina Hernandez, and Lil Kodo. Then, ladies and thank you to our Inc. Tier members: King RTX and Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06, along with Zom. And then, ladies and thank you to our Digital Art Tier members: J Warrior, AZ Void, and Valden Nissan. Then, ladies and thank you, final thick juicy thank you to our Colored Art Tier patrons: Joaquin Munoz and Joaquin Munoz.